What's going on, everyone? Happy Tuesday. Welcome into another edition of GC Live. I'm your host, Jack Veltri, and I will eventually, hopefully, be joined by my co-host, 2010 College World Series champion and former South Carolina right-handed pitcher, Ethan Carter, in a little bit here. He's just running a little bit behind because everyone's got life, and, Ethan is gracious enough to come on here with me, talk some baseball, usually every week. Things have slowed down a little bit with the baseball coverage this summer as school's about to start in a month. Roster's almost done being put together. And basically at this point, a lot of our attention at Gamecock Central, and mine included, is now shifting to football. But a little bit of a break from the football talk for today as we're going to be talking about Gamecock baseball and taking a look at the latest look at this roster as the MLB Draft signing deadline was yesterday. And now we have a much better idea of where things stand. So appreciate you guys joining us as always and joining me only a minute behind schedule. I was thinking maybe it'd be a few more minutes, but he's here, the one, the only, Ethan Carter. A minute late? What's the deal, man? You're always here like 5 minutes early.
It's I was on vacation all last week, so it's been a busy couple days back here at the office. So trying to get some people in some homes, man. But everything's good, man. How have you been?
I've been doing good, buddy. I've been doing good. It's good to see you again. It's been a little bit since you and I have been on here.
Man.
I don't believe we've really talked about it. The Odyssey, a little break from talking about baseball for a second. Me and Ethan. You think I'm a big movie buff? This guy is a massive movie buff. This guy just gets it when it comes to films. So we share a nice connection on that end. But the Odyssey, what'd you think?
Had a blast, man. I've seen it 3 times. I drove to Greensboro, North Carolina to see it in their IMAX theater. Then I drove to Charlottesville, Virginia to see it in their IMAX theater. And then when I was down in Little River, I took my parents down to the Cinemark down there in Myrtle. So I took my parents there last Friday. So I've seen it 3 times. This probably won't be it for me unless I get a chance to end up in Atlanta or somewhere for whatever, Atlanta or New York or somewhere for whatever reason before it's out. That will probably be it. But no, I had a blast. I loved it. It's what I love about movies, and I'm very, very happy to be able to see it in a bunch of different formats. How about you? I saw it got a rare 10 out of 10 from you.
Yeah, so I've seen it twice now. I saw it in IMAX opening weekend here in Columbia, though my coworker Wes Mitchell has debunked that. So apparently the theater here, there's one Regal theater that has an IMAX screen, but apparently it's not like true IMAX. It's not like a 70 millimeter screen.
Yeah, it's a LiveX.
So it's weird. So it says it's IMAX, but like it's not the truest form. But it was great. Like the screen was massive. You could see everything. The sound system was just like, there's that one scene in the movie where it's like the sound is just like deafening. If you know which one I'm talking about.
Cyclops, right?
Yeah, Cyclops. Yes. When that happens, no spoilers. But that's when it's like, oh my God, this is insane. And then I went to go see it in Regal in Charlotte. I could not get IMAX though, because my brother and cousin wanted to go see it. This was last Thursday. And so like every IMAX theater was just sold out. So we went to go see it in RPX, which is a widescreen, not as tall. So you're not getting you're not going to be able to see, the full picture. But it's not that big of a deal. The sound system's still insane. So it was a great watch, man. I've seen it twice. That's probably it for me now. And, like the line in Spider-Man 2, I have nothing left except for Spider-Man now.
There we go.
I have my tickets for Thursday night, opening night. I bought my tickets for Brand New Day probably like a month and a half ago. And then we have Birdies with Beamer, Shane Beamer's golf tournament on Thursday. And so I had my tickets for 6:30 on Thursday, thinking like, all right, golf's at 10 a.m. I'm going to play. We're going to get done by with interviews and everything afterwards, probably by 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'll be on my way. And then I get an email the other day that golf's been pushed back to noon, and Beamer's not speaking until 4:15. So I was like, oh, shoot. So I had to get tickets at a different theater back home, and because I'm going to see it with my brother and 3 cousins, and get it for a later showing. But it's all worked out. We're still
There
going.
we go.
Still going to go to a packed theater, not the best theater, but it's still a Regal theater. But yeah, man, it's been a good summer for movies, and I'm starting to see some of the reviews trickle in for Brand New Day, and it looks like it's going to be good. So I'm looking forward to seeing that on Thursday. Well, we've talked enough about
is Coach Schnall going to be at Birdie's with Beamer?
We haven't gotten we will typically get a list of like who's playing with who the day before. So maybe tomorrow we'll get the list. I signed up to play. This was my 3rd year playing. I was just at the driving range. I played on Sunday, hadn't played in a little bit, and then hit the driving range. And I've been feeling pretty good. I feel better going into this. My off the tee, I'm fine. My short game I worked on a ton today. I feel good. It's just the in between when I'm on the fairways. Hopefully that I gotta work the kinks out a little bit.
There we go.
I don't know what Schnall's. I don't know if he's a big golfer. He looks like he can play golf. I know Maneri certainly did. Like the guy played like 5 times a week when in retirement. I'm sure he is now. So he always played during those tournaments. But yeah, I don't know about Schnall. I don't know. So I guess we'll see on that end. But again, we'll see on Thursday. Maybe I'll give you an update on that when I figure it out.
Perfect.
There, Ethan. But we're going to talk some baseball, like I said before. But before we get into any of that, real quick, I shout out our main show sponsor, Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. If you're in the market to buy a home, need help with your mortgage, any of those housing needs, any confusion that you may have, because it can certainly be a complicated process from what I understand, Clint is your guy to get in touch with. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now. He's a lifelong Gamecock fan, longtime supporter of what we do here at Gamecock Central and on GC Live. He's been the presenting show sponsor at GC Live, in fact, for as long as I've been here and then some. So definitely get in contact with him, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597. Or go to ClintHammond.com for more information. This will be above us here on screen all show long. Craig Godwin checking in says, the last movie I saw in a theater was Titanic. Well, I'd hope it was like a anniversary watch and not – because the original came out in 1997. So we're talking 29 years ago.
Good one to go see.
Yeah, that's a great one to go see. James Cameron, Leo, great movie. But this is unfortunately not the movie podcast. Maybe we should start one someday. But we're talking baseball, talking game. Yeah. So yesterday was the MLB Draft signing deadline, and I think it went pretty on par for what to expect with South Carolina. One surprise that we'll get into, but just to kind of run through it real quick. So the draft was a couple of weeks ago, 20 rounds, 5 Gamecocks got picked, 1 signed an undrafted free agent deal, Tyler Pitzer. So we knew he was off the board already and not coming to South Carolina after all. 5 players got drafted, and they had up until yesterday at 5 p.m. to sign their professional contracts. 4 of them did. 1 is going to be here at South Carolina next season. So you've got Ant Phillips, Miguel Hugas, and Will Whelan, who all decided to sign for $150,000 apiece. Phillips will be going to the Rays. Yep. Whelan will be going to the Texas Rangers, and Hugas will be going to the Baltimore Orioles. No surprises there, right? I don't think there's any surprises with those guys signing. No.
Nope, those were the 3. Yeah, I mean, when we last spoke, we pretty much had said those 3 were pretty much gone, and it was really only 2 that we had any kind of question about at all.
Yeah, so I mean, when those guys got drafted, it was like, all right, they're going to end up signing. Maybe there's like an off chance, but I highly doubt it. And then the surprise, I would say, was that Ethan Sutton, who was drafted in the 16th round by the Dodgers. He's an incoming transfer from USF, closer for the Bulls, and looked to be a guy that would be a real contributor on this pitching staff. Ended up signing for $175,000 on Saturday. Yeah. So he is not going to be making it to campus after all. That was a guy that I think a lot of people thought he would end up making it to South Carolina and deciding to pass up on the opportunity with being drafted. but alas, that's not what happened here. But there was a piece of good news to come out of all this. And again, we're going to talk about all these guys here in a second. We just talked about the first three. We'll talk about Sutton and Connor Schaus, who will be making it to campus. So a big win for South Carolina there. He was drafted in the 20th round, fourth to last pick by the Seattle Mariners, the team on Ethan's cap there. And he will not be signing with the Mariners. The Mariners did end up signing 18 of their draftees. Yeah. Schaus was one of the two guys that they did not sign. So that is good news for South Carolina, especially from a lineup standpoint, because Schaus is the top available top overall transfer player in the portal this cycle. And Carolina getting him was a big deal when he committed on July 4th. And that's a huge piece to have in the middle of your lineup. So good news for the offense. Not so great for the pitching staff. But I think the thing we've talked about all summer to this point, Ethan, is that the pitching staff, I think, was well equipped to handle this type of dilemma.
Yes.
Right? Like I think they have enough depth on this staff to where, does it hurt losing Phillips? Yes. Sutton, yeah, I would say so, especially if he was going to be a bullpen contributor. Now you got to find someone else in that bullpen to really step up. But I think you kind of have that with Dominic Carbone whenever he comes back to full health, and maybe he's your closer this season. Whelan was actually pitching really well in the Cape.
Yeah, his numbers indicate and that was also kind of a thing with him, was the numbers were so good in the Cape, which I think is kind of what bumped up his draft stock a little bit. It would have, as much as I would have loved to seen him on campus, it made no sense for him to come to campus. I don't think there was. The role he was going to occupy wasn't going to be so high leverage that I think that was going to vault him into the top 10 rounds. That, this was Whelan's chance to sign, and, congratulations to him, Hugas and Phillips and Sutton, to all those guys. But yeah, with the way Will was throwing, stock was never going to be higher. This was absolutely his chance to go ahead and start that professional dream.
And he had like a 0.50 ERA in the Cape, which was just nasty. So yeah, definitely I feel like was a real contributing factor. And then you have Hugas, who I don't know what his role would have been. I feel like he's a guy that maybe could have had an outside chance to start on weekends, but the stuff is there. Throws upper 90s, really hard throwing guy. So I think there's a lot of potential there that the Orioles see in taking a flyer on him in the late rounds. But yeah, I think overall, I think the Gamecocks still came away in pretty good shape. You have if my math is right, you have 16 pitchers on this staff. We do get the question here from Maddox Smith. Do we think they'll still add like 2 more arms? I don't know, because they're at 35 players on the roster right now, and the limit is 34. Of course, you can have like guys that are like designated student athletes or whatever. So it's like essentially like it's kind of like a red shirt in a way. I don't know. I mean, if you add more guys, you're going to have to make some cuts eventually, like we've seen over the last couple of years. So I guess it's always a possibility. I haven't seen any I'll call it like a bat signal thing put out where one of the coaches will put out like a tweet or whatever with the gif of something South Carolina related to signal that they've gotten a commitment. Haven't heard anything lately, but I would say like the roster's pretty much close to being done. You added Nick Gibson, a JUCO left-hander, so that was the other day. Yeah, so I think at this point you're pretty much done. But I'm not saying that they can't add anyone. It's just like August 1st is on Saturday. So it's like school starts 3 weeks after that. So you're kind of like, I think you're kind of at this point, you add anyone else, it's probably a guy or two. But I think the work for the most part is pretty much complete.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I know it's not exactly, as tight as it used to be. It might be a little bit tighter. Who knows? Anyways, I know that getting guys cleared to then be eligible for a season, like getting them on campus, like we're getting into the final sprint here on that with teams. So sure, there might be one more guy. But yeah, I think we're pretty set. definitely losing out on 4 arms that at least 3 of them you thought were going to be contributors. Well, I guess it was 5 arms. Phillips, Sutton.
It's
Hugh
5
Goss.
if you include
It's
Pittsburgh.
5. Pitzer. Okay, yeah. So yeah, three of those 5 you were expecting probably to pitch big innings this year at certain times. So I mean that does hurt a little bit. I still think they like you just said. I still think they got enough depth. I am a little more concerned about starter depth at this point now, and that's solely because Hayden Johnson did not pitch last year, and neither did Dominic Carbone. Really, I know he's not a starter, but I am a little wary on that aspect of it. I still think they're going to come in and be great Gamecocks, and I think they're going to help this team achieve some things they want to achieve. But that's just in the back of my mind. We still have 7 months until opening day. So a lot of things can change, and that's just always where it's at. So I definitely think that there's probably an arm maybe left to add based on just roster count. But I wouldn't be thinking it's as big. It's not going to be as big time as some of these other guys they've added.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up because I wrote a story on July 16th with my way too early starting lineup, weekend rotation projections, because we do get the question here, who are the 3 starters for the weekend? Yep. I guess right now, you mentioned Hayden Johnson. Like, I remember him talking to me, and when I interviewed him after his commitment, he's like, yeah, the talk is like for me to be like the Friday night ace or whatever. I believe it. The stuff is there. Just a matter of like, what's he going to look like when he gets back to full health? Now, from what I understand, he will begin. He has already started throwing, but he will, be on the mound in October, which is when fall practice should be going on. So will he face hitters? Will he just be going through, throwing bullpens or whatever? I don't know yet. I think Luke Jones is a guy from Coastal that will be someone to watch for to make the rotation. I think he fits the Saturday role. And then I think Brandon Stone makes sense as a Sunday guy. Could other guys step up like Ryan Brennicky or Carter Harrington? Absolutely. I think there's others like a Jordan Stevens, I think from Georgia, that's had a really nice summer in the Cape. That could be another guy to keep an eye on. So I think they have options. And Craig says that Jamie said he thinks they add 2 more arms. I wouldn't rule it out at all. I think, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I think it's definitely a possibility. It's just, we're getting a little later towards the month changing here, and school's going to be starting soon. You're going to want to have your team in place when school starts, when you have that first team meeting. But no, I definitely wouldn't rule it out that they try to add more guys. And at this point, I don't think you're finding like a Friday guy in the portal or whatever at this point.
Exactly.
I think you're kind of just adding guys like Nick Gibson, for instance. He was previously, had Gamecock ties, and then he went JUCO, and then you were bringing him in as a JUCO left-hander. So I think it's kind of like that. Like if you find a diamond in the rough, someone that seems like they have a lot of potential, maybe they're not like a day one contributor right now or whatever. I think those are the types of guys you're bringing in just to have more pieces on the staff. Because I think 16 is a good number, especially with like if you add Connor Schaus to the mix, he's a 2-way player. Maybe that makes it 17. But I feel like you have good arms in there. It's just maybe add another piece or 2.
Yeah, no, I think your main contributors are already on the roster. Like I said, I mean, there's always guys that come in and can pop in fall camp and really make a push. For whatever the role might be in the spring. And like I said, I've never seen a Kevin Schnall fall. I don't know how Coach Schnall runs his fall program. I can only speak from my experiences on that, and I mean, typically you have, typically you have, we were running out about 8 guys that would throw multiple innings, so you have, they're going to cast a wide net. They're going to give guys opportunities to go out there and throw and see who can get through a lineup more than once. And Coach Williams is going to have, kind of what he's looking for when it comes to that. So it's going to be a very, and like I said, add in that Hayden's probably not going to face hitters at least to probably the end of the fall, if he faces hitters at all in the fall. So there's going to be opportunities, once fall practice begins, once inter squads begin, for some jobs to be won, especially on this weekend rotation. And I definitely, like I said, I think Luke Jones, I think you can kind of pencil in Luke Jones. You can write with some light ink Hayden Johnson, barring from just injury. If he's healthy, you can
no setbacks, basically.
Yeah, no setbacks for Hayden Johnson. You can write him in at Friday night. And then I think that last spot's going to be between Brandon Stone, Carter Harrington. They're going to give guys shots. I wouldn't be surprised if it's somebody that we're not talking about today that is in competition for the Sunday role, in 6 months.
You mentioned that right there. And that's the thing, is that I don't take a ton of stock into my projections or what I think or, what we all think right now, because truthfully, we can speculate all we want, but no one really knows what's going to happen and how it's going to shake out until fall practice gets here and guys are competing for jobs. Because let's say, like, one of these guys that we think is going to be in the weekend rotation, well, he could go out here and have a terrible fall, terrible preseason, and then he's just put on the bullpen, right? Yep. Whereas you could have one of these guys that we're not even mentioning right now emerge and they just make it into the rotation somehow. Like, I look at like Brock Johnson, a JUCO transfer coming in from the state of Arizona, or like a Max Bianchi, like another guy that is coming in from USC Upstate that has tournament experience with the Spartans last year, pitching in that Tuscaloosa regional. Like, those are guys that we're not talking about, that like, it wouldn't stun me at all if we see it every year too, where just like there's a guy or two that we don't talk about in the preseason or the summer, and it's like they end up being significant contributors for this team in the season to come. So like you're spot on about that. I think that is definitely going to be the case here. The loss of Sutton, him signing with the Dodgers, good for him, right? It's a perfect opportunity. The money seems like it's pretty good. I saw it was like $25K over like the
I think he signed for 175. Yeah. And it was, I think that minimum's 150. So yeah, about 25K over.
So it seems like things went well on that. And then also, we both know this, and I wrote this in my story this morning, kind of recapping where all that stands. The Dodgers are one of the best organizations in baseball, clearly. Yep. They are far better than being a team that just spends a crap ton of money. And obviously they have Shohei Ohtani and all these big name guys. Well, guess what? They also have arguably the top farm system in Major League Baseball, and always seem to have great development. So like they have guys like this is a good situation for him, to where if it were any other team, maybe you feel differently. Maybe he ends up coming to campus, but it's like, you got the money, you got a really good organization to develop with. That's a good move for him at this point in his career.
Yeah, because like I'd heard that the number was a bit higher if he was not going to be a Dodger, and it just kind of came in here in the last few days that he was ready to get that started. And I think that would have been somebody that would have been given every opportunity to start if he made the campus. I think he would have been given that shot, and then don't work out, he goes to the bullpen. So but I mean, I think that he's in one of the best spots to begin his pro career, and it's tough to turn that kind of opportunity down, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Got an interesting question here as we kind of shift over to the hitting lineup side of things. I don't think we're going to project the lineup right now, but we can kind of look at like certain spots and whatnot. This is an interesting question here from Maddox Smith, who asks, do you think JD Stein will slide over to second and Ethan Bass will play shortstop? And interesting question, I think, because it brings up a certain dynamic of, obviously, in the past week or two, the Gamecocks have added one of the top high school players in Ethan Bass, who was committed to Wake Forest, but reopened his commitment and will join forces at South Carolina following over Bill Salento, who was at Wake Forest. Bass is the number 61 overall player in the class of 2026 and the number 21 shortstop in the country. He's the number 2 player, number 2 shortstop in the state of Illinois. So he's got to go out there and earn the spot. I think right now, the way I look at it with the question here from Maddox, I think you have a lot of competition in the middle infield. There's only so many spots to go around. Like the names I think off the top of my head, it's Stein, Bass, Evans, Keogh. Who else am I missing off the top of my head in the middle infield? I think Slade Bird's another guy that, if I'm not mistaken, could play some in. Am I right on that? Nah, yeah, he could play some middle infield. So you have a lot of options right now in that infield to where 2 guys are going to be starting. So I think the position right now is JD Stein's at shortstop until somebody takes it. I think they like him over there. But, he did make 12 errors this past season at Wake, so maybe he benefits from playing second. Either way, I think Bass is certainly someone that's going to contend for a lot of playing time this season as a freshman. I think South Carolina is going to have a few freshmen playing right away this season. But what do you think, Ethan? Do you think it's Stein's position to lose?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you make Team USA and you play a pretty decent role there, that you are somebody that's already played at the college level, you're going to have a bit of an inside track. And it's not like he's coming up from, Spartanburg Methodist or, some USC Aiken. He played middle infield in the ACC. So I think JD's probably got the inside track. But the nice thing is, the way it's going to play out, I mean, really, it's who's hitting. Obviously, if the glove's an absolute brick over there, some things have got to change. But a lot of these guys are good enough in the field that it's really going to come down to who's doing what the offense needs. Is it somebody like Stein who is a little more gap to gap, has some experience, or is it a young freshman who can maybe pop 10 or 15 home runs coming in? Is that what that lineup needs? It'll be interesting to see. I mean, and again, the other thing is I'd be willing to bet JD Stein probably plays innings at second base and shortstop this year. That's kind of, I don't think with as deep as this offensive class has gotten, because I think that was the thing when we first started doing these summer series, was they built the pitching up really fast, and then they're kind of all right, some guys from Coastal came, a couple guys from Wake Forest came, and then it was kind of like, all right, well, we need some guys, or we need like 1 or 2 more, and then like in the blink of an eye, you add Costello, you add Schaus, you add Bass, you just add some more dudes. And now it's like, okay, Gradino ends up at campus. You add Costello, both Costellos, things start adding up, and it's just like, all right, so now we're looking at, there's some real competition, and this lineup's gotten real long. So that, if you do need a glove for a shortstop, you've got enough pop. You're not going to put the slugger in at short. You might need, I love my man Scott Wingo. Love him to death. I think everybody knows Scott was known for his glove. known for his glove and getting hit by pitches. That was Scott Wingo way, baby. So, but he served a role. Like, he didn't need to go out there and be a 350 hitter that popped 12 home runs. So I think as this lineup's gotten deeper, I'm honestly maybe a little bit, since Schaus ended up at campus, Gudiño ended up at campus, I'm honestly real excited about seeing this offense now. And I think these pitchers are going to have their work cut out for them in the fall. But to go back to the original thing, I do think Stein has the inside track. I think they're going to give Bass opportunities. But I think it's JD Stein's position to lose versus Ethan Bass's position to lose.
I agree. I think you give Stein the edge right now because he's got a year of experience under his belt. But he also played right away. He played as a freshman this season at Wake. So
exactly.
We could talk about this in the fall. Like, he's the guy going into the fall. But like, Bass will have all the freshmen will have all the opportunity in the world in the fall and the preseason, because you play so many scrimmages to where they will have an opportunity to claim those spots. Like, we talk about these guys being the front runners now, but that can certainly change if a freshman has a good fall and a veteran guy doesn't. So, I mean, this can go for any position, not just shortstop. But to kind of answer the question a little bit, I mean, I think right now Stein's the guy at short, and you figure second base out to where it could be Bass, it could be Keogh, it could be Patrick Evans. You also, I mean, Maddox mentioned Walker Mitchell. You have Connor Schaus as well. I think Schaus is probably like one of your outfielders, though. Mitchell, I think, is probably going to be slotted at third base, since that's where he played at Coastal last year. So, like, I think you have your pieces. You have pieces for your starting lineup. It's just who's going to be where, how you configuring. I think you also have two pieces to where there's going to be some guys on the bench that's like, these guys are on the bench. It's like, there's only 9 spots. Like, somebody's going to have to bench. You only have one DH. The DH is the most curious to me, because when I was putting together my projections a couple weeks ago, I'm going to have right now, and I still do, I would still have Elaine Gomez Gudiño, the freshman catcher, coming in, starting behind the plate this upcoming season or next season. And then it's like, DH, who do you put there? You don't want to leave Andrew Costello, who's torn it up in the Cape, out of the lineup, but it's like, he either plays catcher or he can play outfield, right? And you only have 3 spots in the outfield, and you like what you have out there with like a guy like Bristol Carter, who I think is your everyday center fielder. Evan Batone, I would have in left field, and Schaus I'd have in right field, right? And I didn't even mention Tyler Bach, who could also play the outfield. So it's like, you run into a lot of dilemmas here to where somebody good is going to be sitting on the bench. But let me ask you this, Ethan. That's a pretty good problem to have, don't you think?
Oh, God, yeah. No, I mean, I think it kind of gets lost because of the names Coach Tanner had, and that names that went on that were very good and had great college careers and pro careers. But, like, Coach Tanner was a matchup merchant. Like, he was doing matchups before it became vogue. Like, Jeff Jones was the DH or first baseman when a righty was on the mound. Parker Bangs hit when a lefty was on the mound all the time, even though he was a bullpen guy, because Parker Bangs destroyed left-handed pitching. Stephen Neff, pitcher, ended up having his was more injury based, but like Stephen Neff ended up coming in and playing a lot when righties pitched. Like, I think that when you have this much depth throughout the roster, you can be more aggressive with playing matchups. With it being such a new roster, I'm being the first to admit I'm not as familiar who's right-handed, who's left-handed, who does what against kind of pitching. But like, the coaches are going to see that stuff in the fall and in the early parts of spring. And it would not shock me at all if we have a right-handed and a left-handed lineup, based on what it is. And we see some more aggressive pinch hitting happening, to really take advantage of some matchups. So yeah, it's a great problem to have. As long as somebody like Coach Schnall can manage those relationships and those egos, because these guys are at South Carolina because they think they're pretty darn good at baseball. And every single one of them thinks they should be starting. So, as long as you can manage those egos, and that's, we've got a heck of a staff. We've got a very large staff that hopefully is going to be able to help with those things, because the head coach can't be the one doing everything. So I think they have set themselves up for a lot of success here with the kind of depth they have on the hitting side of things now.
So before we continue, we'll have a lot more to talk about here. Just want to run through some quick ad reads and thank some of our sponsors. Zen AI is the home of vibecasting. It's a new way to capture and share conversations. They help anyone turn a conversation into something worth sharing, whether it's a podcast, reel, TikTok post. No production skills are required. The great thing about Zen AI is that it's portable. You can use it through your phone. It's produced. An AI producer will help make the process of editing much simpler for you. And best of all, it's quick. So Zen AI is currently in invite-only beta. Join the waitlist today for a chance at early access by going to zen.ai to sign up, or head to our show notes in the description for a direct link. And then we need to talk to you guys about our other good friends over at Rytech Electric, a locally owned business based in Lexington that has been serving the Columbia and Midlands area since 2007. So with Rytech, whether it's a last-minute repair before move-in or a full wiring package on your latest build, Rytech Electric partners with the Carolinas' top production home builders and keeps everyday homeowners powered too. A flickering light or a dead outlet can derail your morning routine, but their same-day service and 1-year warranty mean that you'll never hunt for extension cords again. From turnkey new construction wiring to fast, friendly service calls, Rytech has you covered every step of the way. Every electrician is a Rytech employee, not a subcontractor. They tell you the price before any work starts. That way there's no surprises. So give them a call today at 1-803-303-8274. A real person will pick up and tell them that Gamecock Central sent you on over. So thank you to our two other show sponsors. All right, we haven't really we've talked a lot about this team. We do need to real quick just talk about what the return of, I say return, he hasn't even started his career at South Carolina yet, but landing and keeping Schaus. I think that's a big deal for South Carolina.
Yes,
guy that I expect to be in the middle of the lineup. Someone that I don't know where you pencil him in. You could pencil him in 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to be somewhere in the heart of the order there for South Carolina next season. He's coming over from Texas Tech. We talked earlier, top transfer available this offseason. He hit 353, 10 homers, 66 RBIs, and 215 at-bats at Tech in 2026. Really good player. You like the fact that you got him here. What do you think?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, him surviving the draft makes you feel just at ease about what you have going into fall practice. He's the kind of guy that I think there's another leap in there. He's only 21 years old, I believe. And so I think there's another jump in there. I think you could be looking at, maybe the average isn't 355 this season, but I think you're looking at somebody that could be hitting between 330, 340 and up that 10 home runs to 15, 20 home runs. The competition is going to be a little bit stiffer for him, going from the Big 12 to the SEC. But I think that he's the kind of cornerstone. Him and Luke Costello are the two kind of cornerstones that you can, plant your offense on and be like, all right, other guys get on base. And now we don't feel like, all right, well, once we're through like spot number 2 in the order, it's really, downhill from here. And it allows other guys to take the pressure off when you can have somebody of this caliber that you can count on. And it's just like, okay, that's all right. We know that this guy's coming back around. I can relax a little bit. And I just think that you kind of feel that through the lineup. And again, it's not even 1 through 9. I feel like it's 1 through kind of 13 with this class. Because we didn't even mention Patrick Evans. who's coming back, who could be a super utility guy. But no, Schaus coming on board is a good thing, and he's versatile. He can kind of play in some different spots to get your best other bats in the order. It's just just a real hat tip to the coaching staff that they were able to pull that recruitment off and keep them on campus.
No, totally. And it brings up a good question here. I mean, when's the last time South Carolina's had a lineup this deep? 2023. But here's the thing, dude. You look at the numbers and whatnot. They all come from different schools. We have no idea how it's going to translate over to South Carolina. All right,
sure.
This has been the trap that I think we've all fallen for the last few years. I
will say my only pushback on that is that it is outside of maybe 1-2 guys who I do have high expectations for. These are not guys coming from, and I'm going to try to use some generic schools, so I'm not keying in on who I'm talking about. But these are not guys coming from UNC Charlotte. They're not coming from Old Dominion.
Small schools.
Coming from, yeah, exactly. They're not coming from mid-majors. Everybody we've talked about is coming from a big power conference, except the coastal guys, but they've won. They've been to the mountaintop,
yes.
Almost to the mountaintop. But those dudes have done it. So I'm not even talking about, but Auburn, Wake Forest, Texas Tech, these are guys, Wake Forest, these are proven schools that have proven baseball players. These guys put up numbers at those places. One of the ones I'm excited about that I don't know much about Marshall's baseball program, so I got yeah, there you go. You've got our comment from our guy Maddox here. I'm not familiar with Marshall's baseball program, but so much. But I hope Evan Patone is somebody that can come in and do some of what he's done on there. I'm not going to ask him because I think he hit 360 or something when he was there.
He put up good numbers at Marshall. This is a good comment here from Maddox that definitely a forgotten guy.
Yeah, and so that would be my only pushback is that in years past we've brought in these transfers that hit 350 or up, but they're from schools that just have not played against great competition throughout the season. And I think this year we've got guys that have proven that before. So but I'm with you. We haven't seen any of these guys play on a regular basis. It does have to translate. Can't keep winning the transfer portal rankings championship every year. It's got to translate to the field at some point.
So let's kind of look a little bit ahead now, I guess, a little bit. And good comment there from Maddox. Get the question here: when do scrimmages start? We don't have the official schedule yet. I would say classes start August 18th for Carolina. Guys are going to be reporting to campus a little bit before that, from my understanding, moving in, whatnot. And then I would imagine practice probably begins September, October, scrimmages, and then go from there. This is probably the last time we're going to be on here until scrimmage, till practice starts, because we kind of have hit on everything this summer. I will ask, and you can really speak well on this as a player that has gone through practice before in the fall. What do you kind of look for heading into the fall? What are your big questions that you would like to see answered?
I would like to see kind of with things I'd be looking for, who's playing where once scrimmages start. Because you're going to have your individual hitting groups, you're going to have your pitching groups, you're going to have guys grouped together while they're all doing that early work stuff. I'm once you break out into actual scrimmaging and inter squads, who is playing where, who's kind of matched up together. I always found that piece interesting. Who's playing shortstop, who's playing second base when JD Stein's playing shortstop, or who's playing left field when Tyler Bach's in center, or when Bristol Carter's in center. That's always the thing I like to keep an eye on, is who's paired with who, because I think they like to try to start building that kind of chemistry early on. And then from pitching side, who's throwing strikes? I think a big thing that these coaches are looking for, especially when the games don't matter, are you walking guys? I had that. I remember I had an outing where I had great stuff that day, but good golly, I couldn't hit the raw side of a barn, but I walked more than I usually did. And I remember having a vivid conversation with Coach Chandler. It was like, stuff was great, but you couldn't do anything with it. And I was like, okay. So, and that's probably the most looked down outing I had. The numbers weren't terrible, but I had another outing where I got tattooed. I think Jackie Brown Jr. hit a line drive off my knee. Somebody took me deep, and it was rough. And the feedback afterwards was like, keep attacking the zone. So I think that's always a big thing to look at with these arms is who's pounding the strike zone, who's not afraid to get beat with their stuff. Because again, these games do not matter. None of these innings matter in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, who's paired up kind of on defensive side of things, and who's working with who, and then from pitching, who's throwing strikes.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to look at it. I think for me, when you look at the fall, you're right. The games don't matter. You're just trying to get a feel for you can project and think these guys are going to play all you want, but and I think there's guys that are going to be playing and make significant contributions. And if they don't have the best fall, it's not the end of the world because it does not matter. You're just trying – you'd like to just have an idea of, what the team is going to look like to some degree. And Maddox brings up the point here. I mean, the biggest thing he mentioned is, compared to other years, is do we pass the eye test? These past couple of years, South Carolina has not looked like an SEC team. No, I agree, but also it's different. The staff's completely different. Players are different. There's only 6 returning guys from the 26 team. So I expect there to be a new flavor. My biggest thing is, can these guys all come together, right? Can it mesh really well to where they have a really good team top to bottom, and it's not just they're good on paper, but they don't mesh well together, so it doesn't work, right? You got to be cohesive out there. So I think that's the big thing for me is that they've got to, A, stay healthy, but B, they've also got to have a group that just looks like a team out there together.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think – that's always the risk when you bring in such big classes. It's so much turnover. You're going to be helped a little bit there are teammates, there are bunches of teammates coming together. You've got the 4 or 5 Wake Forest guys. You've got the 7, I think, Coastal guys. So, and then you've got, the handful of returners to South Carolina. So, you have some pockets, and it's just about who can start bringing these guys together and start building that teamwork, that cohesion, and I think that goes a really long way. And again, I think that's where having such a good staff, from the outside looking in, it's a great staff. Again, we have not seen these coaches work with players at South Carolina before, so. I think that's a great point on your end on just how is it all going to mesh up together, and how are these guys gonna come together, and that's a lot of what that fall is, man. They're going to have these guys in groups, and they're going to do team events, and you're going to have the competitions in the weight room. That was always a big thing. We had our end of the year Ironman, essentially. There's just that competition breeds camaraderie, and I think once you get these guys competing together, then it's real easy for that other stuff to kind of fall into place.
Ethan, good stuff as always, man. I know you got to get out of here, so I will let you get to it.
I appreciate you, Jack. I appreciate, again, I know this might be the last time talking to everybody for a little bit, but I love talking about the team with you, bud, and I love hearing from all of everybody. So until next time, I hope everybody does well, and we'll talk again here sometime in the fall.
Yeah, man. All right, good stuff as always,
buddy.
Thanks. All right, so that is Ethan Carter as always, and we're gonna wrap it up here. Now we've talked about everything, and again, this will be our last show for the summer, and then we'll re-rack it back up at the start of the fall. Obviously, football will be in full swing, and it's probably not going to be every single week like normal, but just a show at the start of the fall, talk about everything, preview, maybe one more at the end of the fall, and then we'll really get back into it every week, next season. So, yeah, it's bittersweet that we are wrapping up the summer here with talking about Gamecock baseball. But, again, in short, this team looks a lot different on paper. Now it's just about, like we kind of talked about at the end there, how's it going to come together? Who's going to be playing where? What's this pitching staff going to do? There's so many different questions, pieces to figure out, but that's what having the fall and then all the preseason is for. Until you get to February with opening day. So appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Again, we'll have GC Live going on every single week with football primarily now moving forward. But again, in a couple of months, we'll get back into a little bit of the baseball discussion with Ethan and myself. Appreciate you guys tuning in every time we talk about Gamecock baseball. Head on over to GamecockCentral.com, where we'll still always have baseball coverage over there as the offseason rolls on. But until next time, appreciate you guys as always. For Gamecock Central, I'm Jack Veltri. As always, I was joined by good friend and 2010 College World Series champion, former right-hand pitcher for the Gamecocks back in the day, Ethan Carter. Have a great week, everyone, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.